If a black person has lower SATs, right, and lower GPA, should he get in over an Asian or a white person?
Let me answer.
If all things are supposed to be laid out equal, no, you shouldn't get. If you don't have it,
that's what's happening.
What it takes to get in. No,
it is happening, and I'm telling you, young white dudes are pissed. I'm telling you,
the majority of what's happening.
It is happening.
As it relates to DEI, first of all, DEI has been more beneficial. I'm a former commercial contractor, all right? DEI and affirmative action have benefited white people vastly more so than black people. All you gotta do is look at the business ownership or what have you, and you notice that as long as that white female happens to be 51%, then she qualifies as a minority and a double minority because she's white, she's among the minority in business ownership, and she happens to be a female, right? So you look at that based on population dynamics, and that automatically tells you this whole thing about DEI was number one, not as much targeted towards blacks as much as it was targeted towards minorities, which includes that LGBT.
I agree.
Right? So when we talk about that, we need to really deal with the real problem. And as it relates to the riots, let me tell you something right now. Listen, in the black community, I'll be the first to acknowledge, we do have intractable problems that are not going to be solved in one conversation. But what I'm going to say about that, as well as the reason why the black community becomes so infuriated, all right, is when you see gross negligence of justice happen or misjustice happening and nobody does anything. When this guy kneeled on this man's neck, we're going back to George Floyd. Look, if he had done something when he was subdued and on the ground, what was the real reason for kneeling on his neck except to inflict fatal harm? What was it?
I can tell you exactly what it was, and I can tell you why you're not recognizing the problem. Because the opinion polls, and I'm not saying right or wrong, the opinion polls have changed on George Floyd since I last spoke with you. You know why? All the body cam footage came out. You know what? You know why? Because he was there for 12, 15 minutes, asked to be put in the car, they put him in the car, asked for air conditioning, gave him air conditioning, asked to be taken out of the car, they took him out of the car. He wouldn't stop moving. People have watched it now and go, you know what? It's not what I thought it was. You know how many times he was arrested before that? 9. He shouldn't have been. You know what would have saved him? 3-strike policy. He robbed a woman at gunpoint with a child in the house. And so white people look at it, young white people, right, who you have to understand during COVID, this is a whole generation of people. White people did not have any fucking opportunities during COVID. They didn't get to go to the graduation, college, black, white, all of them, right? It's a generation that's pissed, rightfully so, they got screwed. I think we can agree on that. They're going, I watched my city burn down for a guy who was arrested 9 times and committed violent crimes against women. What?
Now, you know, let me say
that's a travesty of justice. He shouldn't be out.
Let me say this to you.
How many felonies does President Trump have on his record? Yeah, he was still allowed to occupy the most.
No criminal felonies.
He has no criminal felonies, but he's got moral felonies, which would, if there was a court of justice for that, he probably would be tried a long time ago. I mean, let's talk about it.
Is this where we all get on board with crazy white bitches who accuse men of rape?
No, not at all.
She accused 26 men of rape, that crazy bro.
Here's the reality, though. And when you look at the convergence of this new agenda where you're going strictly into blue cities, why is it that most of those blue cities also happen to be occupied, the areas they're going in are heavily occupied by minorities? Why is that so?
Well, black people tend to vote Democrat, and they're run by Democrats. Detroit, you can look at it. You can look at Chicago. Is that what you mean?
I mean, no, that's not what I'm asking you at all. What I'm asking you is, like I said, with this all-out assault right now, just last night they were talking about something in Chicago, right? At 1 o'clock in the morning, you had people in military gear, what have you, helicopters and all this kind of stuff like this here, not just knocking doors down, but dragging people out.
Because it's the murder capital of the country. You just said black people are more harmed by this. We don't want to take out murderers?
No. I think really what truly was you're confusing what I'm trying to say to you.
You want the National Guard in Chicago?
No, what I'm trying to say to you is this, though. If we're going to talk about the problem, let's talk about the problem in its totality. The fact about it is, when you talk about white America being pissed, white America is going to always find a reason that doesn't fit their narrative or what have you. But what white America fails to talk about, and what never ceases to amaze me, is the fact that the biggest threat is not going to come from blacks. The biggest threat is coming from within.